Inside of You is brought to you by my good friends at Sonos. You've heard me talk about this. Boy, is this the best holiday gift, holiday treat. If you don't have Sonos, I have had Sonos in my house for 18 years before these guys even became a sponsor. And it's pretty amazing because instead of having giant speakers and amps and all these, receivers everywhere, you just have this small device that just sits in the back that has great sound. Sonos, you could play a song in each room, a different song in each room. You could have a party mode for outside. You could listen to, Mazzy Star up in the bedroom. You could listen to the Beatles in the basement. It's really wonderful. I love Sonos. I'm so glad they're a sponsor. I hope they stick around. And they'll stick around if you guys purchase shit. So that's kind of the way. Look, share the joy of listening on Sonos this season. Make the sound system on your wish list a reality with speakers and sound bars that are easy to set up, easy to use. I do it, guys. And they all work together so you can listen in any room or every room, like I talked about, and bring the family together with incredible sound for everything from classic carols to festive films. Sonos works with all your streaming services, and control is simple with the Sonos app, your voice using Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant, and Apple AirPlay too. Spoil the listeners in your life with a gift that keeps on giving. Boy, does it. Treat gamers and movie lovers to an immersive home theater experience with Beam. Keep your fitness-loving friends motivated with great sound for their workout playlists with Move, and help relatives relax with hands-free control of their music and more on Sonos One. I love these guys. I hope you'll check them out. It's easy. You go to Sonos, Sonos.com to learn more and wrap up your holiday shopping. That's Sonos.com to learn more. Sonos. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Happy holidays, folks. Happy holidays. Ryan, happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Very happy holidays.
I hope everyone's having a great week, great day, great holiday. If you're having a bad day, have a better day. Turn it around, man. Turn it around somehow. Go for a run. Go for a drive. Listen to some holiday music if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
I like some holiday music.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite holiday song, Ryan?
Favorite holiday song?
I just like the simple, have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Yeah,
Reminds me of just being a kid.
That's a nice one. That one tugs at the heartstrings.
It's rich.
I mean, you can't go wrong with a Mariah Carey.
Maybe a Wham.
Maybe a Wham, yeah.
Or maybe even, so this is Christmas, and what have you done?
One of my dad's favorites to play was the Chicago album.
Yeah.
Because it was Chicago 25, so they made a Christmas album, so we had that one in concert
rotation. Didn't they have a bunch of bells and things on the front of the album?
Yeah, probably.
I think so.
That was a good one.
Guys, thank you so much for supporting this podcast all year long. It means the world to me. If you're here for Tom Welling, you came to the right show, but I hope that you like it enough to listen to next week, which another great actor. And the support means the world. It's a little podcast that could. Mm-hmm. And so follow us. And those handles on Instagram and Facebook are
at Inside of You Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, on Twitter at Inside of You Pod.
That's exactly right. It's right here. And, you could watch the shows on YouTube, subscribe. You could listen on Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify. Make sure you listen, write a review. It helps the show immensely. If you're getting something from these podcasts and learning a little something, and we have so many letters that I get that people just are really, the show helps them and in some way, and that means the world to me. I'm glad Ryan here is still with BetterHelp. He's still seeing therapy. We're all seeing therapy. It's going to be a great next year. If this year was tough for you, there's always tomorrow, man. I keep saying, hey, next year's going to be better. You have to think like that. You have to have that mentality. You can't be like, oh, it's just going to get worse. You got to turn it around, man. Turn it around. Also, stop by the Inside of You store, Inside of You online store. 10% off. Just put Rosie Christmas 10, ROSEY Christmas 10. We've got Smallville lunchboxes I autograph. We've got some new tumblers. We've got some Smallville shirts. We've got pictures, autographs, just mugs. I think we've got a lot of great stuff and more stuff on the way. So go to the Inside You online store. And of course, sunspin.com if you want to book a conversation with me on Zoom and or buy some cool merch there. So why don't we just do it? Let's happy holidays, everybody. This is my good buddy. He's been on before. He's been on, I think, the most. Him and Stephen Amell and Zach Levi are probably the leader on the leaderboard of who's been on the podcast. But we had a great conversation, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. So let me know what you think. And let's get inside of Tom Welling. It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. What's the shirt? Why is that Lady Gaga?
No, dude, that's Ariana Grande. Let's go.
Ariana Grande. Why is she upside down on your shirt?
I don't know. My wife went to the concert with her friend and brought me this home, and I love it.
Well, it looks good on you.
And in fact, today I was trying to figure out what to wear here, and my wife was like, "What are you gonna wear?" And I was like, I have two options. I'm doing this, and she just paused, and I was like, okay. So I went back in the room, literally, and I'm going through the stack of the limited clothing that I have here. Right. And I'm picking up this t-shirt. She goes, "What about Ariana Grande?" And I was like, and I swear to God, I was just picking it up.
Do you like Ariana Grande?
Who doesn't?
I don't know one song she sings.
Oh, you have to watch her.
I'm stuck, in the 70s and 80s, some 90s.
She has a gift. There's this YouTube video of her. I think it's on Jimmy Fallon. And she can do Celine Dion. She can do everybody, all these.
Yeah, just move it closer to you.
Is this going to be a thing?
Well, if you keep turning and talking to Ryan, it will be.
Well, Ryan's an interesting guy. He's a handsome dude.
Yeah, he is.
He seems interesting.
Bobby Lee said he looked like an eagle from the side. But go ahead.
No, but I was literally picking this t-shirt up from the stack, and when I heard my wife say, so it was like I had to wear this.
Well, I like it.
Thank you.
It's thinning. Black's thinning, right?
And she's upside down, which makes it work.
It does.
Somehow.
Is there? I don't know if there's a reason, but Ariana Grande. I know a lot of listeners are going to probably say, "How do you know how do you not know one song from Ariana Grande?"
That's okay that you don't. It's like meeting someone who's never watched Seinfeld. You know how when you meet them and you're just like, "Oh, you are so lucky." And I'm not saying you have to buy her albums. No offense, Ariana, or why I'm looking at you, but
I know.
But like. Watch that YouTube video of her doing other people's voices. She's amazing.
Have you listened to any Ariana Grande songs?
Yeah, no. I mean, I am one of those, like, it's, how do you not run across an Ariana Grande song?
I wouldn't know who
you probably would know. Thank You Next. I got one less problem without you.
Sing something.
I'm so fucking grateful for my
See, that's better. See, I couldn't do that and I'm wearing your t-shirt.
Did she say the F-bomb in her songs?
Yeah.
Isn't she really young?
I mean, she's like 29 now.
Young to you.
Young to you. Speaking of
sure.
which, we're getting old, man.
I mean, you look the same.
No.
You just have more hair.
I absolutely don't look the same. I sometimes I find it hard to look in the mirror in the mornings. I honestly get up and I try not to look at myself. I try to shower. I try to blow dry really quick. I air dry.
What about your hair?
Today I gave a chest a little trimming.
I remember you having a lot of shaving considerations.
On Smallville?
Well, not just your head, but you'd be like, how's my back? How's my,
Well, it's like sometimes your back, my neck, but sometimes...
Ariana Grande?
You don't have any hair on your back.
Not that I can see.
You really are so lucky. Do you know how lucky you are to not have any hair? It's not like I'm Harold and the Hendersons. But I get some... If I let it go for a couple months, I need somebody to trim it with an electric razor.
Yeah, see, I don't know how lucky I am because I haven't, you know what I mean?
So you don't do any trimming? Does your wife ask you to trim down there below the waist?
I mean, there's always a little bit of, like, it's not like a direct request, but there's always a little bit like, hey, clean it up in general.
So she says something.
Well, just like about a lot of things, like clean it up. It's like,
clean it up.
Clean it up.
Just clean it up. What about you, Ryan? Does Amanda ever ask you to trim downstairs?
No, but it's implied. Just sort of keep it nice.
I can't find it. It's too hairy.
That's the
ongoing joke.
It's a lot smaller than a lot of my hairs.
Well, listen, I think we should start now. And I just want to say thank you for paying me to be here.
Absolutely. I always have to pay my guests to be here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would they spend so much valuable time with me? I got this Family Feud game really quick, and it's kind of fun. So each of you get 3 strikes, but top 6 answers on the board, Ryan and Tom. Name something you'd find on a playground, one at a time. So go ahead,
Jungle
Tom.
Gym.
Jungle Gym. You are correct. That's the number 4 answer. Ryan.
Swing set.
That's the number 1 answer. Tom.
Damn, you took mine. Oh, we have to keep going? I thought I got one.
There's 6 answers on the board. This is Family Feud here.
I don't know what a lot of things are called there. Monkey bars.
Correct. That's one. Ryan.
That was a good one.
3 left.
Oh, slide.
Slide. 2 answers left on the board. What would you find in a playground? Come on.
Wrappers.
No.
Like food.
Who goes to playgrounds?
Children.
There we go. That's the number 6 answer, and 1 left. This is probably the best.
There's usually more than one slide.
No, but this is not a slide. This is, it's kind of a balancing thing. It's kind of like...
it's seesaw.
Yeah, it is. Seesaw.
Actually, I have 2 sons now, and I think they've like gotten the seesaws out of the
Why is that?
parks.
Why do they get seesaws out of the parks?
There might be a liability issue. I go to parks as much as I can. I've very rarely seen
Because kids kind of, when they're up, they kind of fall down. They could hit their heads.
Yeah.
I could see the liability issue. Are you, now that you're a dad, you have 2 kids now, right?
Yep.
You have Rockland.
Yep. Thompson and Rockland. Yeah.
Thompson and Rockland.
Yep.
2 boys.
2 boys.
How much has your life changed? Honestly. You've got to be fucking exhausted, dude. 2 kids. You had your own shit going on. You could wake up when you want. You could do what you want. Now you're not doing that. I texted you once at 4:30 in the morning because I was on the East Coast and you were up,
And I
dude.
answered. You're like, what are you doing up? I'm like, why? I don't know. I mean, it's worth it, man. Like there is a
All right, well,
constant...
cut the bullshit. It's worth it stuff. It's
No,
gotta
it is. It is. Like it'll be 4:30 in the morning and your son is like, Dada, Dada. And you're like, yeah, like you're happy. And then you go and you sit down and maybe you're trying to keep them, if they're not looking at you and talking to you, but they're engaged in something else, you're like,
Yeah.
But it's the most special thing in the world. And yeah, I recommend it for you. Like I've said, you got to find the right person. I mean,
fuck. Story of my life, dude.
But
How long am I
You're
gonna
always
do this?
exhausted. Everybody knows.
Are you, who, me?
No, everybody who has kids who's listening or watching this, like you're exhausted, but it's worth it. I'm exhausted right now.
You are.
But I'm happy. And that's the difference. When you do something, you're jet lagged, or you're doing something you don't want to do, well, then you're completely miserable. But I mean, I couldn't be happier right now.
But you have purpose. Do you feel like you have purpose in your life now?
Yeah. A different kind of purpose that I probably never would have had otherwise. Yeah.
And what you notice a big change in your personality? Because I remember on set,
I think I'm happier.
you could be impatient.
Yeah.
You were kind of like always working. You could get a little revved up. But like, does this force you to kind of become more patient?
A buddy of mine gave me really good advice when my wife was pregnant with her first son. He's like, you're going to realize that you have 0 tolerance for bullshit once your child is born. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, once that kid's born, like, you're just going to, like, your friends who are sort of like, I'll be there, but I'll be late, blah, blah, blah. You don't give a shit. Like, it's just not important anymore, but your kids are, and keeping them safe is good. Which is why when you then leave your children, those choices to do that are so much more important. Like coming here, I had to think, is this worth leaving my children for?
Well, you're only a minute away.
And I'm a minute away. But it's a consideration with work projects and things that you, like, we're working on 2 things.
Right.
But like those feel worth it to me, to spend time away from my family in order to be creative and do great things to come back to them.
Do you feel like you need to, like, sometimes getting away, going to a convention, going to shoot a movie, going to do these things? It's almost like, I needed this.
I thought I did. As you know, there was a 10-day period where I went to a convention, had a couple of days off, and then met you at another convention and whatnot. And I thought I was going to be like, okay, I'm free, because I hadn't left my family like a year and a half. And there was a part of me that was like, okay, man, finally I get to sleep. Well, we go into the convention. There's a lot of work, very little sleep. But then the 3 days I had to myself, the first night I slept 14 hours.
And you hadn't slept 14 hours since probably Thompson was born.
I've never slept 14 hours, I don't think, ever. And then I was like, cool, I'm going to do this for 2 more nights. Well, it doesn't happen that way. I mean, your body can't really do that. But honestly, all I did was miss them the entire time.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Because you can easily come on here, as many do, and you could say, "Oh, kids are wonderful. Kids." I had my friend Chris once said to me, he's like, "No matter what anybody ever says to you, and I love my child. I love my child more than anything. Sometimes you want to fucking kill the kid."
Well, I've never.
He's like, but obviously you don't. But there's times when you're like, I can't make you happy.
There's times when you just want your kid to do what you want them to do, and that's like go to sleep or there is that stuff. But I've never thought about killing my child.
Well, I don't think he meant killing the child. I think he meant just like, I just fucking can't make you happy.
There's some times where you're like, I just wish I could go take a nap, or I wish I could just have an hour to myself. There is that. I mean, that's normal. That's a normal human being, and that's where, like my wife and I, we juggle that. So
does having kids affect your relationship? Does it make it? Is it more positive things, or does it sometimes? There's like, when are we gonna have? Because I remember you telling me something. We're like, she's got 2 kids in her hand, and you're kind of looking at her like, "Hey, happy time. What do you think?" She's like, "I got 2 fucking kids in my arms. How are we gonna have time for this?" But there's got to be things that you
got to make time for the 2 of you. That is something which I'm still trying to get better at. I mean, that's just how it goes. But we both enjoy our kids so much. Like all we do, like when our kids are there, we just look at each other and smile. Like it's awesome.
Inside of You is brought to you by M1 Finance. There's a reason they call M1 Finance the finance super app. This all-in-one app makes it easy as pie to invest, borrow, and spend exactly how you want. Build a portfolio of stocks or ETFs in minutes with their intuitive Pies interface, or use a pre-built expert pie that invests according to your goals. Investing involves risk, and M1 helps you invest according to your risk tolerance. Borrow against your portfolio with some of the lowest rates on the market, then use it however you want. Keep in mind, borrowing increases your risk and rates may vary, or stash your cash in their free digital checking account. It's fast, it's easy, and it saves you tons of time, and time is money. Switch to a sleeker, easier, and better way to manage your money. Plus, get a $30 bonus to your M1 Invest account when you get approved and fund it with $1,000 within your first 14 days. Go to m1finance.com/insideofyou for more info. That's M as in Michael, the number 1, finance.com. Terms and conditions apply. Inside of You is brought to you by Fairway. Oh boy, Fairway is a family-owned grocery chain and a top 10 employer in Iowa that has been in business since 1938. They have over 12,000 employees and service 6 states with brick and mortar locations before launching Fairway Meat Market to service the rest of the U.S. The Fairway Meat Department has always been considered the backbone of their operation. What customers can expect from FairwayMeatMarket.com, it's still hand-cut by Fairway butchers to ensure the best possible quality. It's the same quality that they promise at the counter, now delivered to your home nationwide. There's nothing better, man, than getting a big box of fresh freaking meat from Fairway. I love it. They sent me a big box a while back, and just absolutely delicious and cheaper than you get at the store. Wow. They give you a good deal.
Fairway Meat Market's quality meat comes straight from America's heartland.
Each and every cut is done by their highly experienced team of butchers to ensure you get the same quality they put into every in-store customer experience.
And people love the wide selection of products Fairway offers. Ribs to ribeyes, pork chops, and beef tenderloin. They have every style and cut your kitchen can handle.
This week, my listeners can get the Butcher's Holiday Collection. Listen to this. The Butcher's Holiday Collection, valued at $275 for just $169.99 plus free shipping when entering inside at checkout. The Butcher's Holiday Collection package includes 2 12-ounce USDA Choice ribeye steaks, 2 8-ounce USDA Choice filet mignons, 2 8-ounce USDA Choice sirloin fillets, 4 8-ounce 100% full-blood Wagyu patties. Doesn't it taste delicious? 6 8-ounce certified Duroc boneless pork chops, 2 pounds of private labeled bacon, all for $169.99. The Butcher's Holiday Collection, and you get free shipping when entering inside at checkout. That's more than $100 off the best meat in America this holiday season, plus free shipping nationwide. That's fairwaymeatmarket.com, promo code INSIDE, and look for the Butcher's Holiday Collection. Codes give free shipping site-wide as well, not just on the select package. I have to say, Ryan, I mean, Tom definitely is more of a calmer, patient person than I knew him on Smallville.
That's
He just
very
is.
true.
Just in the last, since the kids were born, especially, you do seem more like you kind of go with the flow.
Well, I did an interview recently for the 20th anniversary of Smallville, and I talked to this. It was over the phone. The guy couldn't even see me, and it was like a 15-minute interview. And at the end, he's like, "You sound really happy," and I was like, "I am happy. I mean, this is great." He goes, "No. I interviewed you like 4 or 5 times before during Smallville. This is the first time I've heard you sound happy." And I was like,
Wow,
you're right. I mean, I don't want to complain, but like that was a tough part of my life, and great success, great TV show, like don't
very
get me wrong,
grateful and all that, but
on the personal side, I wasn't happy. But
I remember that. I remember, it's funny because now your parents visit and they kind of take care of the kids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember, I don't know if I really looked at you and your mother and father as close when we were on Smallville. You seemed kind of distant. And now when I see you together, it seems like there's a new bond.
Well, it was funny. My parents came to visit me on Smallville, and it's, they arrived. I didn't get home till like midnight. I left at 6 a.m. They weren't awake. It took 2 days for them to come visit set. And like you and I have talked about, people come to visit you in set, and you start to shoot a scene, and like 15 minutes later, they're like, "So, you're
still shooting this,
still doing this?" Like, it's very boring to visit set after 15 minutes. And so my parents, after 3 days of that, were like, "So we're gonna go to Vancouver Island.
We're gonna fuck off."
My parents took a vacation to visit me, and then took a vacation from visiting me because I wasn't available. I mean, I was gone all the time.
Right.
So that's probably why you didn't necessarily see us together, because the show was everything at that point.
It really was everything. And it's hard for people to understand. They're like, they're probably like,
do they need to understand? But
I think people in general, when you're filming something and you don't text back and you're absorbed, you're enveloped in a project that you can't, like for me, I can't break away from it. I've got to have full focus on something or I'm not going to be good.
Right.
I've got to focus entirely on the task at hand. Mm-hmm. And some people can get annoyed, like, "You haven't called me, you didn't text me back." "Oh, my friends will always get my friend Kent in Indiana." "Oh, really?" When I don't respond, "Oh, good talk, dude."
Well, I went through a couple of friends during that period, but the friends that are still there are still like my good friends. Like, you go into a submarine for 10 months. You're basically just incommunicado, and people get that, and you come back out. And it was like, you'd have a month and a half or 2 to like hang out with these people, and then you're like later, and they're like later, see you in a year. That's also good friendship, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, do you need to talk to him every day? Hopefully not.
No, but you do.
I FaceTime him. "Hey, Ryan." You're like, "Hey, dude, I'm
You
editing."
FaceTime everyone.
I know.
It's
I know.
the FaceTiming.
20th anniversary of Smallville. You and I just did a bunch of press. We promoted the Blu-ray that's coming out.
Yeah.
This will probably be already out by the time this airs.
Yeah.
But and you always get upset when people say 20th anniversary, and you're like, "It's not from the time it ended. It's from the time it started." 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years since you started Smallville. And I've talked to you about this. How much do you think, when you look back at starting the show, I mean, it's got to be a daunting thing, or were you just so naive and just young and giddy and all that you just didn't realize what a daunting task it was to play the lead role in a huge series?
Well, the funny thing is, I was sold on the idea that it was an ensemble.
Ensemble means there was the rest of the cast to do some of the work.
So that was the naivete that you're talking about. To me, it was a job. Cool. I've never been to Vancouver. Let's go. And then I got in front of all you guys, and you guys knew what like marks were and like where the light should be and stuff. And I was like, "Oh boy, I better learn fast." So yeah, I had no idea. I just knew it was a great job, and I hope it would work. And that's how it continued. And we ended up lasting 10 years. I mean, that was I think there's less than 30 TV shows in the history of television that have lasted.
Is that true? Wow.
There's not a lot.
Were you nervous though, honestly? Were you acting for the first time? You've done some small things, but like doing scenes in the very beginning, do you remember how you felt? Do you remember overwhelmed? Do you remember like, can I do this? Can I get through it? Were you embarrassed at all? The crew's watching, the cast, everybody. Were you, because you're so young and you just had done some modeling and like you did that Amy show, Judging Amy, but you hadn't done a lot.
Well, I
would have been a nervous wreck.
But she was that Judging Amy experience was awesome for me because I got to act with her, And I saw the way she operated on set and how she treated people and how when the cameras started, and I don't know if I knew this at the time, but then she would then we would just be in the scene and we'd just be talking to each other, and a lot like you and I did.
Right.
And in some ways, when Smallville happened, again, I thought it was an ensemble, but many times, especially in the first season, I'm like, where's everybody else?
Yeah.
Like Michael was just here and he left. Kristen's now here. She left.
Right.
They must be doing other things, right? No, they went home. But the camera, I don't mean to sound like whatever, but the camera never bothers me.
Never has?
Never has. Like I don't see it. And thankfully,
wow, that's rare.
Like,
that's rare.
I'm just, thank God.
Even in the beginning, even when you're first doing these few scenes, you weren't thinking, oh my God, am I selling it? Am I doing the right thing? Am I?
No, if anything else, I never felt like I had looked to like the directors and producers or the other actors and be like, not that I get away with that, but like when they move on, I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's good or not. But I wasn't like, oh no. Because I just thought that other people should tell me if I was doing bad. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. And our relationship was a little bit like that, where we'd be in a scene and you'd be like, just do that again. Like you can do better or whatever. Like that was helpful.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, cool. But
Yeah.
I kind of looked for other people to guide me innately. So, if somebody was like, that was shitty, I was like, okay, well, how do we adjust it?
Right.
And I don't know where I got that from or whatnot. I don't know if, I don't want to be arrogant and say, I don't know if you can teach that. I was just so focused on the job that I don't know if. And
So you've never really cared about what other people think, is what you're saying?
well, I cared about the people around me who thought, but like, as we've talked about, social media wasn't a thing, or commenting about episodes wasn't really.
Right.
But, if there were times where I just relied on other people. I think that's the answer. I relied on other people to help, to support me. And if they said we needed more, I'd do more. If they said we got it, we got it.
Do you remember the first time you saw the pilot, or some moments that you thought, wow, this is going to change my life?
I don't remember seeing the pilot.
You don't remember seeing the pilot?
I know what the pilot is.
Right.
But I don't know where I was and when I saw it. I don't.
But you got to remember, like, the first time you watched an episode of Smallville, that you were the lead in it and thought you had you had thoughts about it.
I just don't remember when or where I was. But I do remember when Clark pulls off in the pilot, when he pulls off the door to the truck and he says, my name's Clark Kent, you're in Smallville. I remember doing that scene and being like, oh, this is awesome. Like this is like James Bond, Indiana Jones. It's like there was just so much about that moment, I just remember when we were doing it. I remember it being cool. Yeah,
You were so young.
So
like
young.
I mean, you didn't have time to go home and study lines.
No.
Now that's got to be terrifying, sort of, for someone like me who always studied lines and did plays and had to really learn the stuff so I could be free on set. But you just didn't have the time. You're in every scene every day. You had to go home and sleep.
But that was my job. My job was to be there all the time, every day. As you know, with Clark and Lex, like Clark doesn't have a lot of lines. And a lot of times in television shows, the leads don't, because the story needs to be, they're in the middle of the story. So everybody else talks to them. That's a lot of the times what happens in television shows. So like, you and I would be in scenes and I'd be like, man, this guy, you got a ton of lines. Like it's you. And then
Right.
Clark would be like, what do you mean? But my job was to be there all the time, in a sense. And I always, for 10 years of my life, it was whatever it takes to be there. That's just was my focus.
Did you ever have breaking points where you're like, I can't freaking do this. I'm so tired. They've got to give me a day off. Did you ever have moments where you're driving to work and you're just like, I got to pull over. I'm so tired.
I mean, I gotta be honest with you, that was most days. Like it was.
Most days, because we drove ourselves to work.
Yeah.
Until the cast got together and said, Tom has to have a driver. He's going to die.
Yeah.
He's going to die. He's your lead role. He's our lead guy. So many times you were driving to work and you had to pull over.
I got pulled over once.
By a cop.
By a cop. I was going to work. I was just in a constant, like, irritated mood all the time. And I remember one day I was driving to work, it was like season 3. And it was like, I'm sure some of you listening or watching this. A car is slowed in front of you. You want to just not slow down. You hit the horn. The car clears, and you realize like someone just got in an accident. There's a cop already there, and the cop just turned to me and was like, "Turn out!" Like, so I pulled over, and the guy was like, "What are you honking for?" And in Vancouver, honking your horn,
Canadians don't honk
they
their
don't
horns.
honk. So
They're Canadians. They're lovely.
And I'm not a big honker, but it was just that moment. I was like, honk. Oh. And he's, what are you honking for? I'm like, he made me sit there for a minute to almost teach me like, calm down, slow down, never give me a ticket. But maybe I needed to hear that right there. You know, like just chill out a little bit, dude.
But you were absolutely, you'd say, at least once or twice a week on the way to work or on the way home, you're just like, I'm out of my mind tired.
Yeah. Constantly. Like,
would you fall asleep easy? Did you ever need any pills to go to sleep?
Never pills.
Never to fall asleep. A beer?
Easy. What I did is I would normally nap for 15 minutes at lunch. Like I would, like during lunch, I would get my lunch, eat it while I was walking, get to my trailer, lay down, 15 minutes later, get up. And the second part of my day was always more productive, I felt. Right. Just from a nap.
You know, Harry Truman used to nap. He said just in a boxer shorts, pair of boxers and a t-shirt and take a little 30-minute power nap. And it used to make his day. That's what he did.
I still love naps.
Do you still nap? Even with kids, you can nap?
When I can. Even 15 minutes, dude. Anything.
I'm sure Jess goes, just go take a nap. Just go take a nap.
A lot of times I'll be like, I just need like 10, 15 minutes. And she knows I'll be back. But
what about the pressure of like always being in shape? Like getting bigger, like getting stronger, losing weight? Like, did you have to deal with a lot of that stuff?
Well, at the time, because of my age, it wasn't a big deal. And what we did with Clark is Clark wasn't going to be a guy who would take his shirt off, if you know what I mean, unless it like the action made it happen. Right. Like, and
your shirt was off quite a few times,
but not as much as you think.
I'll have to go back.
Because I remember being like, is it really worth it? Because I never had the time to work out. Like we see these movies and all these guys now, they make time for that. Right. What was I going to do? Work out 5 minutes a day and half hour on the weekends? Like,
but you look good because you were young.
I was young. Yeah.
But did you do push-ups in your trailer? Did you
sometimes
have some weights?
Like maybe before like an actual scene. Right. I would try to get a little pump or something. But it was really just...
you were lucky. Genetics.
Yeah. Genetics, yeah.
But I remember there was one season where you just kind of were like over it. You came back and you just had eaten fucking everything in sight. And the producers, what happened?
Summer of gluttony.
What happened?
It was just, there was a little conversation. And it was Steve Wardrobe was like, what happened? And I was like, what do you mean? I finally had fun for the first time in my life away from the show. But I gained a few pounds. And by the way, it wasn't like I came back 300 pounds. I just came back like a little bit more. Right. And so I don't know if anything was adjusted or not, but there was just a little bit of a, let's clean it up. Let's clean it up.
Who said it to you? Al? It had to be Al.
I'm pretty sure it was Steve. Al never
Steve, the wardrobe guy, said, you need to do something. Yeah. He told you. Yeah. And you were like, what do you mean?
Well, I knew what he meant. I was like, you're right.
How many episodes did it take you to get back into the shape you needed to be in?
I don't recall, but I think it was a couple weeks because you have to understand, being on the show, you lose weight. There's no time to eat. There's no time to do anything. So it's like you lose weight just being the lead on a show. Right. I mean, unless you're going back eating a box of donuts in your trailer, but maybe some guys do. I don't know.
You were always pretty good with your diet and stuff, though, right?
Yeah, I eat pretty well.
I mean, you had demands.
I mean, I wasn't eating pizza and stuff, but, chicken and salad, just clean. Like, that's what I like to eat.
Inside of You is brought to you by my good friends at BetterHelp. BetterHelp Online Therapy. Boy, I can't tell you how much this works. I get emails all the time. Thank you for talking about BetterHelp. Thank you for getting me into therapy. Ryan does BetterHelp.
I do.
I just had a friend this morning. I was FaceTiming with him, and his wife said, my kid's dealing with depression. Mm-hmm. And do you know any good therapists? I go, well, BetterHelp Online Therapy. Because they're in the middle of sort of nowhere, and you don't need to go anywhere. You can FaceTime or text, or it's BetterHelp is just it's amazing. It's helped you out.
Yeah, it's convenient, and
it's convenient.
Yeah, it has been good. I have gotten a lot out of it.
Well, I like that. Look, whether you're struggling with grief, relationships, or stress, or having trouble sleeping or meeting goals, online therapy might be for you. BetterHelp is secure online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with a licensed professional therapists. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own accredited therapist. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. And you don't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. Therapists have a broad range of expertise which may not be available in your area. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime, folks. Send a message to your therapist. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change therapists if you need. And that may happen. You meet someone the first time, you may not vibe with them, you change a therapist. BetterHelp, it's that easy, and I completely recommend this. So many people have told me it works. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy by a landslide, if you ask me, and financial aid is available. Visit betterhelp.com/inside. and join over the 2 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, Ryan, that they are recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. Inside of You is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/inside. That's betterhelp.com/inside. Give it a shot. BetterHelp. Inside of You is brought to you by my good friends at Sonos. You've heard me talk about this. Boy, is this the best holiday gift, holiday treat. If you don't have Sonos, I have had Sonos in my house for 18 years before these guys even became a sponsor. And it's pretty amazing because instead of having giant speakers and amps and all these, receivers everywhere, you just have this small device that just sits in the back that has great sound. Sonos, you could play a song in each room, a different song in each room. You could have a party mode for outside. You could listen to, Mazzy Star up in the bedroom. You could listen to the Beatles in the basement. It's really wonderful. I love Sonos. I'm so glad they're a sponsor. I hope they stick around. And they'll stick around if you guys purchase shit. So that's kind of the way. Look, share the joy of listening on Sonos this season. Make the sound system on your wish list a reality with speakers and sound bars that are easy to set up, easy to use. I do it, guys. And they all work together so you can listen in any room or every room, like I talked about, and bring the family together with incredible sound for everything from classic carols to festive films. Sonos works with all your streaming services, and control is simple with the Sonos app, your voice using Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant, and Apple AirPlay too. Spoil the listeners in your life with a gift that keeps on giving. Boy, does it. Treat gamers and movie lovers to an immersive home theater experience with Beam. Keep your fitness-loving friends motivated with great sound for their workout playlists with Move, and help relatives relax with hands-free control of their music and more on Sonos One. I love these guys. I hope you'll check them out. It's easy. You go to Sonos, Sonos.com to learn more and wrap up your holiday shopping. That's Sonos.com to learn more. Sonos. What's your, if you look back, like which one of your favorite episodes that you recall that you're like, you know what, this is the one I always remember?
Well, the easiest one is Transference.
That's when you become evil Clark.
No,
it's not.
I'll
you switch bodies. You talk. You tell me. You do it. I don't remember.
It's Lionel Luthor and Clark switch bodies, and so that's for me to play a character that is so iconic. And I mean, the glove. We love the glove.
We love John Glover.
I mean, this guy is like, he's like an astronaut of actor. You know what I mean? He's just like, you can't.
Yeah, he's superb.
So to play a character that he's been playing, in a sense, it was a lot of fun.
You switched. You became Lionel Luthor. He became Clark Kent.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I think he'd enjoy the story, but he had more trouble playing Clark, I think, because Clark is more his actions and the way he goes about is very simple and maybe not as complicated as Lionel Luthor or layered. And I remember John asking me to come to set, and he was in the prison scene behind the bars, and I was in the next scene, but James Marshall called me. I think he was directing.
One of the directors, producers, yeah.
And he called me and he said, "Can you come to set?" And of course, I'm like, I'm not supposed to. I don't need to be there for another 30 minutes. And he's like, no, Glover wants to talk to you. He wants your help. And I was like, I'll be there in 2 seconds, you know? And I go in there and John's pacing literally in this cell, in this prison. And I'm like, John, what's up? He's like, oh, and he like grabs the bars and he's like, Tom, I need your help. And I'm like, you need something to eat? Like, what do you need? He's like, how do you do it? I'm like, do what? And he goes, play Clark Kent. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, I don't know. You know, he couldn't feel like he could get there. I go, just simplify things. It's not all that complicated. I mean, I can say that to a guy like John because he's like so talented.
Right.
And he was like, you don't understand. I complicate everything. And I was like, just slow everything down. You're not so ahead of everything as you normally may be. And I saw a light in his eyes, and somehow that piece of information or direction landed with him.
Right.
And I mean, if you watch the episode, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Now, what about the fact you tell the story? Tell the story about it was one of the best. It was written about that was one of the best episodes ever.
Oh.
And then something happened.
So
this was written about in a publication recently, I believe.
Yeah. So the same story came out on the same, like, we're getting ready for this big 20th anniversary since Smallville started. And we have a lot of press coming on and people want to talk about it, which is great.
Right.
So I found myself being like, you know what, maybe I need to revisit some of the information so I can have more talking points from what I've just been talking about before. So I found this website and I was like, cool, top 10 episodes of Smallville. And one of them on there is the one about Red Kryptonite, and Clark kind of goes bad and whatnot. And and I texted you the list because I was like, there's like 2 episodes that you're very much featured on too.
Right.
Just so that when you and I are together, we can talk kind of like
Right.
this. So anyway, I'm like, okay, cool. And then there's this link on there and they're like top 10 worst things about Smallville. And I was like, I got to click on that. So I click on it, and the first one is how bad I was an actor in that episode that was like one of the best episodes. And I was like, this is on the same website. And I remember talking to you about it. And you're like, you can't listen to this stuff. And I'm like, I know, I'm not upset about it. And then you're like, but you're talking about it. And I'm like, but I'm not upset. I just find it, you know.
It's kind of ironic. It's just like it's one of the best episodes ever ranked on their site, and then
it's
you
the
get
worst
this message
performance ever.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, listen, I mean, it's just what it is.
And that's what you got to we got to let go as actors. We can't, it's none of our business what other people think about us.
Okay, but on the same note, I have a question for you. I listened to one of your episodes lately with the guy from The Flash. No, this is good.
Okay.
You guys are talking about how you can never allow yourself to really enjoy your experience. And part of my heart broke because it's like a lot of actors go their whole careers never able to enjoy anything they've ever done. And I don't think anyone's ever been able to say why you can. Like it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people go through their lives just, you know, like I'm so miserable and misery is such a motivation. And I don't know how to get through that, but I guess my point, I did that going through Smallville, and now that time has passed, I actually am not able to appreciate it somehow.
Right.
And I don't know, you just spoke specifically about how like you're never happy. Not that you're never happy, but like when you perform, you're like,
It stresses me out, and I just want to enjoy myself. I don't think I've ever really, there are moments when I'm really comfortable on set and I enjoy things, but overall I put so much pressure on myself to be great that it's hard to enjoy what you're doing when you just are always striving to be great and not just enjoying the moment. I think that goes with life. It's like if you're not in the moment, how are you going to enjoy it? You're always ahead of yourself. You're stressing out about things. And how do you deal with that?
Well, you brought up having kids. My kids have taught me how to be in the moment because, I mean, when you're on set, you're in the moment because somebody says action or go, and you're there.
Right.
And if you're not there, you probably don't stand a chance, at least for that scene or whatnot. But with your kids and maybe your frustration's building or this and that, but even my wife has told me it's like, it's all temporary. So it's going to change in probably 15 minutes anyway, whatever's going on, the happiness or the frustration. So just enjoy it because your kids are going to grow and they're going to be gone before you know it. So going back to your earlier question about kids, like that's what it's teaching me. Appreciate what's happening right now, whether it's good or bad.
Right.
And I think that's left out a lot about appreciation. Like, are you only supposed to appreciate everything good about this moment? No. Maybe appreciate what can you learn from this moment, I think is the way to get to appreciation. Somebody just ran into you in their car. I mean, this is a horrible example. But what can
Mother!
Yeah. But if somehow you can get to what can I learn from this moment, you will actually maybe be able to be in the moment more. I mean, I'm
help you
kind of
navigate other moments. So it's like, you know what? Take a deep breath.
like being here.
I'm alive.
I
This was
didn't-
an accident. How do we deal with this? You
Right.
know, there's way of programming to program your mind to make you sort of not freak out about everything. And I think that goes with years of therapy and other things like that.
Yeah.
No tights, no flights. Now that was something from the beginning that you were like, I'm Clark Kent. This is the story of Clark Kent and how he becomes, you know, his growing up, and eventually he becomes Superman. But they made it clear to you, and you said, "Hey, I'm signing this contract because I'm playing Clark Kent. I'm not getting in the tights, right?"
And they said, absolutely.
How many times did they try to kind of convince you, like, "Let's do it. It's time. Let's do it. Let's get in the tights"?
Well, there was never that conversation. So the conversation went, yes, and going back to your being so naive, I was so naive that I was just like, I had some experience with contracts before and how they can maybe sound good, and once you go through them, they can work against you. And so with this one, and I had other options at the time, and I was like, okay, here's the deal. Like I read the script, kid in high school, we don't know who he's going to be. And I never wanted really him to be Superman. So in my contract was I would never put on the cape or the tights or the suit. I think it was like halfway through season 1, they just put out a script. And Clark's like flying around with a suit on and stuff. And I remember just sort of saying, you know, you guys know that that's not going to be me. Like it's in my contract.
You said that.
Yeah. And they were like, okay. And they rewrote it. I think they were just trying to see if they could
Test the waters.
And by the way, if Clark was in his suit as Superman season 1, we would have never lasted 10 years.
Right.
Because that wasn't what the show is. There's Lois and Clark and these other shows that's what it's about. It's about them being in the suits and saving the day.
Right.
It was about Clark and Lex and Jonathan and Lionel and Martha and all the other characters. It was about their journey of who they were going to be, not who they are. As far as at the end.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
If you were to go back, if you can go back in time and to the last episode, would you fly a little more?
No.
Would you want to be seen a little more?
No.
Did you think it was just enough?
Yeah, well, I wrote that scene.
Really?
Yeah.
The final scene of the
When Clark goes like this, that was I had a conversation with Peter Roth, who's the head of
he was
the network.
the head of the right.
Yep, and my idea was this is how I felt about the show ending is I wanted to show Clark ascending, but knowing that we can't go there, but in our hearts know that he was out there. And I got that from other shows that I like. Jack Bauer did that in 24. Maybe that's
You
where
love
it came in.
24.
I would go home to I would race home to watch 24 while we were shooting Smallville.
Did you ever see 24, Ryan? You liked it?
With Kiefer Sutherland, who's now like kind of a friend of mine, and I still get nervous when I see him.
You get starstruck.
I do. Because and not because he's Jack Bauer, just because, you know, when you invest your time watching a show and then you meet that person, it's like, it's otherworldly a lot of times. And I would race home. This is before you could just like download,
Right.
you know, and all that other stuff. So
TiVo, I believe.
even before that, man,
Before
it was
TiVo,
it would air on Fox on this night. And if you didn't have like a tape recorder, I mean, this was early,
2002,
dude.
3. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my go-to. So anyway, that inspired me a little bit, and I just wanted Clark to live on, but in our hearts. But we couldn't see him go there as Superman.
Right. You know, we're not going to talk about it, but you know, a lot of people have asked about the animated series, the Smallville animated series that you and I are working on, and we will just say that it's fun. We're going to be pitching, you know, in January, Warner Brothers, and you know, we've got some great people attached, and you know, we're hoping that they bite. And
what can we say? Who's attached? I mean,
Alan Miles, the creators of Smallville, and you know, we're so people ask me questions. We don't have any information for you other than we've got a great pitch, and we hope they bite. Well, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can say is that it is moving forward, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We talked about it actually for a few years.
We were always talking about how cool it would be at conventions, and then we were like, you know, this, you know, and finally now it's coming to fruition a little bit. You know, at least the idea and the artwork, and you know, But it's fun because, doing these conventions with you, we've started to like become better friends. Not only that, but like, then you write a script and like we're pitching it together, and we're trying to. It's nice to be working with friends. It's nice to be. What's your experience with that? Because you've never really worked with friends before and stuff. Usually just actor for hire or producer or whatever.
Well, I think that, a lot of times when you go to work, you hopefully become friends with the people.
Right.
But there's an old Hollywood saying that, you hope to get to a point in this industry where you only get to work with your friends, because then you're really having fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of, the shorthand that you and I have, Alan Miles. I mean, it's just so easy and creative. It's exciting. And I think that's going to lend a lot of energy to the project.
I think it does. I think it's just sort of like, hey, it's going to be me and you on set, and we're going to be able to hire people if the show gets picked up, and we get to hire people that we like and work with. And there's that's such an appeal. That's such really living the life if you could do that, if you could hire the people around you.
I mean, with any job, I'm sure everybody who's listening or watching this, you have to go to work. Certain people you like and some people you don't want to be around.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work to be around people that you don't sort of mesh with. But then when you get that person that you connect with, it's fun.
Yeah. The Professionals.
Yeah.
You and Brendan Fraser in freaking South Africa.
Yeah.
You almost died.
I don't think I was the only one. I mean, we had we had armed security. We weren't allowed to leave the hotel on our own. One of the crew cars got shot with like an AK-740 round because two taxi drivers got in a fight. Johannesburg is a very interesting place. And
did you know it was going to be this dangerous?
No.
Were you scared for your life at times?
I was. I mean, I felt protected because of
bodyguards,
the guys around
things.
me in the armored car that I would go to set in. But on set, we would kind of shoot out in the boonies a little bit, so I didn't feel like we were. But a couple of times we went into the city, and it got a little hairy. But it added. I'm trying to be positive about it now, but it added to the energy of it. But the idea when I went down there is my family would come, and I think within like 2 days, I'm like, that's not going to happen.
You're not coming.
No.
And how long were you gone without seeing them?
3 months.
Without seeing Thompson?
Uh-huh.
Was that the most difficult thing you've had to endure?
Yeah. I mean, part of it was he was so young at the time. I convinced myself that he didn't know I wasn't there. And my wife did a great job. She ended up flying out to New York and being with my family, which was helpful as well. But there were a couple days where it was really tough. But then, most of the time you just focus on the work, and, it's just, it was tough. I won't do it again.
How was, what do you mean you won't do it again? Because the CW just picked up The Professionals to air on the CW.
Yes.
Now, if it's a success, won't they want to do another series?
Most likely, but there'll be some adjustments to security and location
and all
duration.
Those things.
And
What was Brendan Fraser like to work with?
Oh, so first of all, amazing.
His career is just on a...
Yeah. He's
taking off.
He's working with your buddy Scorsese.
Yeah. My good buddy Scorsese, old Marty.
I was a fan of Brendan. I mean, everybody's a fan of Brendan. And we get there, and our characters, I'm supposed to play this military guy who's only paid to protect him and doesn't really care about him. And his character was written in a way that should be that way. But then Brendan shows up to set, and he's so damn likable and such a nice guy that I found myself fighting caring about him as my character would. You know what I mean? Like, in person, him and I got along great. Like, it was seamless. But I felt, I was like, I don't think my character should like him all this much. I don't think he should be so at ease with him. And so it was like a fun fight.
Right.
But he's so good at what he does. I mean,
when does this air? When does The Professionals air in CW?
They haven't said.
But they made an announcement because I saw the announcement.
They bought it. They don't know when they're going to air it.
And you guys should watch The Professionals. There's a trailer out for it. It looks pretty crazy. It looks like you had it in an intense shoot. It doesn't look like it was fun.
It was fun once we started rolling.
Right.
If you know what I mean?
Yes.
Getting to set, being away from set was all very delusional. Like you didn't know where you were in time and space or sort of what was going on. But once you started filming, the whole cast and crew was fantastic. But there was one of our characters who he's walking down. So basically, think of the whole crew is on this side, right? and they're filming this way, and they're walking down an African dirt road, and this guy's abandoned. He doesn't know where he is, and he's walking around. It's kind of funny. It's action funny, is what this thing is. And literally, dude, without anybody knowing it, a giraffe comes out like 50 feet behind him onto the dirt road. And the actor, Ken, who's this fantastic actor, turns around and sees a giraffe and uses it and just starts being like...
They kept it?
Yeah. And he's like, this is how crazy it is that I crash landed and I'm just walking on this dirt road. And I'm seeing this in
real time.
Well, I watched the...
you watched the pilot.
I watched the film because I'm one of the producers as well. And I was like, I remember calling one of their producers because I wasn't there that day. And I was like, how did you get that giraffe to do that? They're like, that was not a plan. But this actor turned around, saw a giraffe and just
stayed with it.
And this guy, Ken, I mean, he's a German guy. He's a fantastic actor. He speaks like 5 languages and he dubs his character. He's a German actor. He dubs his performances in like French, Italian, and English. And obviously he speaks in German. Or like nobody else dubs him in other countries. He dubs himself.
He does himself?
He dubs himself. Like that's how.
That's crazy.
And he's a great actor, yeah.
Do you still love acting?
Yeah. It's
You
fun.
love it. You love being on set. You love acting.
Oh, there's a thing about being on a television show and fighting the repetitiveness.
Repetitiveness? Wow, I can't believe I said it.
Thank you for saying it. That's part of the job, is that part. But there's those times where you nail a scene or you're just in a moment and you walk away and like, you can't go to sleep. It's like a drug, it's like, and you may not get that all the time, but you strive for that. But when you nail it, like, it's just like, it's a visceral.
But you definitely want to act for the rest of your life. You love doing it. You want it. It excites you.
Yeah. The idea of it. Yeah. Not the idea of it. I don't mean something like that, but like it's not like,
because some people
I never
just
want to do it again.
Because some people just like, I have a friend who's always just like, I don't care what I'm doing. As long as I'm acting. Where I'm not like that exactly. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I've
heard you on your podcast have this discussion before.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I have.
Right.
And I get that. You don't live for it and that's fine. But when something comes along
that you have to do.
I could see you immediately jumping up and getting right into it.
Yeah.
And
I think that's true.
And that's okay. That's why you see a lot of actors who, when they find success, you see them for like 5-6 years. Not to say it's not 10 or whatever, but they like bust it out and then you don't see them for a while. Well, because maybe they're living their life again, or now they're being more selective because they can or whatnot. But I mean, the 2 projects that you and I have going, you'd be out of your seat in 2 seconds to do, just I would.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's because it's meaningful to you.
It's meaningful. Yeah. That's exactly right. Shit Talking with Tom Welling. These are questions.
Oh, good. We're almost done.
Oh, geez. That's the end. Well, no, but these are my top tier patrons. If you want to give back to the podcast, if you're enjoying the podcast, if you like it, you want to become a Patreon, patreon.com/inside of you. It's awesome.
I'm a member.
He's a member. There's a lot of patrons, and they really give back to the podcast, and I couldn't do this show without them. But here is the first question. Raj says, what's the longest you went wearing the same underwear during the pandemic?
Oh, I'm not that guy.
You change your underwear every day?
I mean, if not twice. Yeah, yeah.
You're not disgusting.
No, like, I don't like being,
That's what you're saying.
I'm not like weird about being clean, but like, I don't. I've been stuck traveling and like, oh man, I only brought 1 pair of socks and I'm here for 3 days. And then you're like in the sink. Dude. And you put them in the sunshine to get the scent off. I've done stuff.
Things get
like
musty. That. They get moldy.
But I keep myself
clean.
Yeah.
Well, that starts with trimming down there, like we talked about in the very beginning of this episode. Dana asks, as an adult, what is the most childish thing you catch yourself doing?
Childish. I mean,
enjoying playing with your kids because it's like so you get childish to play with toys.
I mean, like if like burping and farting, it's not, but I don't like enjoy that. I mean, as much as you do.
Who does?
But childish thing of just like, there's times when you have kids, you start to evaluate what you do with your time and how much. Like there is that sort of thing. And there's times where I'll be sitting there watching something on TV or doing nothing. I'm like, I'm literally wasting my time right now. But sometimes you need to waste your time.
But isn't there something like
But I don't play video games.
You don't play video games. Like I collect horror posters and memorabilia and things like that. Is there any kind of like little thing you do like that? You never kept anything off the set.
No.
You never brought anything home.
And you know what? I wish I did, but then I did a show like Lucifer where I was there for a season. I didn't take any from that. Like it
doesn't interest you.
It doesn't occur to me. I almost need someone to tell me to do it because when I'm at work, I'm just thinking about that. I'm not thinking about after work.
Right.
I mean, it's not even a consideration, but like, you know, now that I have kids, it's like, it'd be really cool to have some of that stuff. But again, that's not for me, it's for them. So I don't know if that's a difference.
Do you like being an adult? Do you ever like wish that you were young again? Do you ever wish you were like a teenager? Do you ever like, or you're just like, I'm moving forward? I'm
very fortunate that I'm happier now than I've ever been. And I'm not just saying that. I mean,
that's
like,
amazing.
Like even like people are like the slippery slope of what would you have done differently? I mean, there's a shitload I would do differently, but only if it got me to where I am now. If you know what I mean. You
wouldn't want to change anything that would alter who you are now.
If I could skip a couple things or change another things, but then be right here, right now, I would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a million things we would change. But then I'm in a happy place. If I wasn't in a happy place, I'm sure I could just go off.
You could riff. You could just fucking riff. I could probably riff.
Yeah.
Bob K. What classic film would you love to remake as an actor or director?
It's funny. I tried to remake a classic film. Ray Liotta did a movie called No Escape.
I remember that movie from the 90s.
And I spent about 2 years trying to remake that. And it in a different way. The problem was you can't remake that movie as it is now. You have to update it.
Right.
And we couldn't quite crack how it would be different to remake it. But that, and I'm a big fan of Westerns, like any Western.
Would you do a Western in a second?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
I would love
Westerns
to do a
are so
Western.
clear. Like, they're so cinematic and at the same time so clear as far as right and wrong and moral. And, you know, obviously a lot of that's been changed. I mean, they redid The Magnificent Seven recently. It didn't work because they just got away from the core element of what a Western is.
They probably got away from character and likability.
It just became celebrity, like everybody looking good.
Everybody being macho.
Yeah. And if you go back to The Seven Samurai, which that is basically, you know, the original Magnificent Seven is based on, it's all characters. Japanese film. I recommend it.
Nico, what age would your kids need to be before you ask Michael to babysit them? Nico, you son of a bitch.
I'd probably ask my kids to babysit you first.
That could probably be the way to go.
Yeah.
I think I'd be a great babysitter.
You'd be fine. I mean, you can't breastfeed right now. That's one thing with the younger one. You and Thompson would have a blast. You guys, he's the funniest person.
He is hilarious.
You're the second funniest person. I thought you were the first. Now you're the second. My son is so funny. You want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
This literally happened the other day, and you can cut this if it's not funny. So I'm a member of a golf course here in Los Angeles. I'm there with my wife, my 3-month-old, and my almost 3-year-old son, Thompson. And we're there with some other friends. Joe Pesci, who I told you made me late the other day to meeting you.
Right.
He comes over, because we're all friends. He's a golf buddy of mine. He comes over, hey, Tommy, how you doing? Hey, Jessica, you know, the whole thing. And my son is standing, painting just like on paper. And he goes, hey, kid, how you doing? And my son looks up, and Joe's wearing this, like a baller's cap, and he's smoking a cigar. My son looks up, he goes, what are you, a cowboy?
Oh my God.
And Joe looks at me, he goes, what are you, a wise guy?
No.
Like, it was like 1, 2, and my son just starts drawing again. Everybody else just fucking dies. I've never said to my son, what are you, a cowboy? I have no idea where he gets that. He looked at Joe Pesci and he goes, what are you, a cowboy?
Are you, a wise guy?
Totally, dude. Totally.
Were you dying?
Dude, we were all like, that's
Did Joe
fucking
laugh?
hilarious. He laughed in his way. Like, yeah, he thought it was great.
You?
Well, he just loves kids.
What are you, painting your thing? You throwing offensive comments?
It's so completely honest. You know what I mean? Kids are so honest. But anyway, so that's what I said, like the funny thing. And my son is, I can't get enough of it. He's amazing.
Leanne P. says, what lessons has being a dad taught you? I mean, you've answered that in so many ways.
Well, one of them is patience. One of his is like time and like scheduling, but also like priorities. Because I have a tendency that I can spin out, and not spin out in a way. Like when we moved, I found myself trying to do like 10 things in one day. And my wife was like, well, okay, let's just slow down a little bit and let's prioritize. And one of the things she said, it's going to take a year for us to move into this house.
Right.
So let's just focus on, this room or this, that. We kind of, we have a lot outside. We're like, we're going to wait to do that. We're going to wait for the garage. We just prioritized. And so I think I've gotten better at that because I have a tendency to try to like do 10 things at once. And anything you read about being productive tells you can only do one thing at one time. Like every book says that same thing.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of things wrong with me or that are slightly unhealthy in life that totally work on set. Juggling 15 things at once, focusing, moving on.
Yeah, there's something about that kind of works on set.
There is that thing, and that's why like some people can really do well on set and can't do well in life, and vice versa. And then you get people like Tom Hanks, who like they can do everything. So I don't know.
You know what would be fun, which probably will never happen. I don't think it would ever happen. But to get together with the entire cast for like a dinner or something, or a gathering. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, I haven't seen.
Is that a burp?
It was kind of a burp. I tried to. What's the word? I tried to
hide it, swallow it,
stifle, hide. Yes, all those things. But I always thought that would be kind of cool to see John and Annette and Glover and Kristen and you and me and a couple other cast members to just sort of be in a room together. It's been so long.
Well, part of the fun thing, we just did it recently. We saw Alan and Sam. Who, I mean, I haven't seen since the show.
Alan Richardson, who was Aquaman on the show, and
now
we saw Sam Jones.
He's going to be
Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher. And it's like, it's so funny how you pick up right where you stopped, and it's like sitting down at dinner would, I don't know.
Maybe not dinner, but maybe like drinks in a bar atmosphere.
Just like running into each other is so much fun because there's a. I've said this before to you. I don't know if it was on this podcast or not, but there's a trust that is like forged on set that doesn't go away. Yeah. Like there's other actors that you meet, and because you worked with this person, you can walk right up to them and talk to them, and you haven't seen them forever. Yeah. And then that's true. And then like their husbands or their wives are like, who the fuck is this guy who just walked up and you're talking to like this? But,
who do you miss the most that you haven't seen in a long time that you like seeing them, or you'd like to just at least, or that person?
Probably, I've really only seen Schneider once. Yeah. And he was such a big part of mine and Clark's journey. The hand on the shoulder and like that was all his thing. The whole John Wayne. Yeah. So yeah.
Schneidi. I'd like to see Annette. It's been a long time since I've seen Annette.
I mean, it's not that I wouldn't want to see any of them. It's hard to prioritize.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, what's your favorite movie? Like, I don't have favorites.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you do. You're sitting across from them. But look, we do the cons together. We do these Smallville nights. If you guys ever get a chance to come out and visit, we're doing one. This podcast will probably be aired
after.
Wait,
well, we have more to do. I mean, we have
other cons that we go. So look us up and come to a Smallville nights. Come see us. We always have a lot of fun. What's the most thing? What the biggest thing you love about going to the cons?
So I spent a lot of years on Smallville. We dealt with a lot because the show was successful. We were asked to do a lot of press, and one of the things about press is like they're always trying to kind of like find out what's bad, or they're trying to figure out who you are. When I don't find myself all that interesting, or don't feel like I have a lot to share. But when you go to the cons, you're meeting fans, and they express to you what the show meant to them in their own way, and it's like, man, it's awesome. Like I just want to hear their stories. I mean. And especially a show like Smallville, which, people watch with their parents or their dads or their moms. And some of those people now don't have their moms and dads or whoever they watched it with. And they're there and they share that story. And it's so moving because we weren't thinking about that when we were filming, or when we meet service members who, I remember this one guy in an airport came up to me and he's in fatigues. And I don't know if he was coming home or going overseas. And he was like, hey, man, you're that Smallville guy. And I was like, yeah. He goes, man, I got to tell you, my sister sent me a box of DVDs, and that was the last goddamn shit we watched. But man, we enjoyed it. Thank you. And I was like, what? Thank me? I mean, I got chills right now. I'm like, thank me.
Isn't that something?
Like, thank you. And it was, I'm glad they got to it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
But it distracted them. It's an escape. And that's what TV does. That's what movies do. That's what entertainment does. So, a lot of times we think we're doing something that's trivial and stupid and whatever, and it's not a big deal, but it affects other people.
That's how I feel about this.
Yeah. And I thank you for doing this. I thank you for doing this. By the way, I probably asked you this a million times, but some time down the road, if they asked you to be Superman.
I think, it wasn't, especially during Smallville, it wasn't about being Superman or not. It was only being Clark Kent on Smallville. But they did some Superman movies. They were never going to shut down Smallville for me to even do one, right? And it's just a different thing. DC movies and DC television are very different things, and that's all fine. And then when Smallville ended, I was very anti playing Superman. But now as I get older, I'm like, oh, maybe, I mean, yes, I think it would be fun. And I think I would like to think that I could add an element that maybe hasn't been there for a while, as far as like maybe Superman's not so detached. Maybe he's not such an alien. Maybe there's an element of, my favorite scene is when Superman goes into the cafe, doesn't have his powers, he gets beat up, then he comes back with his powers. And how he deals with that.
Right.
I think that element may need to come back in a little bit, and it'd be fun. And again, listen, the other thing about when your friends have kids, they just talk about your kids. We had friends over last night who have similar age kids. We were like 2 hours into the night. My buddy's like, so how are you? Because it was just kids. And it's fantastic.
I could tell you had plans, by the way, because I was just like, yeah, so I'm in the area. And you're like, all right, cool. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, I was going to stop by tonight, but.
Well, I mean, you're always welcome.
I know, I am.
But I think that having my boys now, I kind of have to get over myself a little bit. Like, how cool would it be
for Dad to?
But
by the way, how cool would it be for all the people for 10 years that watched Smallville and watched you becoming Superman over the years to down the road see that Superman now?
Well, and from what
that's a unique thing that no one can do other than you.
have done.
Right, playing that for 10 years and then going in and playing Superman.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a thing, maybe who knows? I always say, no one's ever asked me to play Lex. Maybe I'm not old enough to play Lex. Well, Jesse Eisenberg is not that old either. But maybe I'll be a better Lex when I'm like in my 50s.
Well, there's also this thing that they started doing in television, these multiverse things, which now the films are embracing. And so you could have 5 different guys playing Superman in the same movie. I think the Batman movie's coming out. There's like, there's a couple of there's people coming back from the old films and whatnot. I think the television always wants film people involved. I think film is slowly allowing television people in. There's still even though viewership, I don't think cares, because they don't care if you're in a movie or on television. They're watching on their iPads anyway. Right. You know what I mean? Like, they don't care. But I think that there's, I think it'd be cool.
Last question, trivia question.
Oh, boy.
How many times has Ryan watched the Smallville series?
That reaction? I think you're trying to pretend like you haven't watched it.
I'm not pretending.
He's never seen it.
I've never seen it, no.
He's never seen one episode.
Not one. I haven't seen a frame.
That's probably good.
Yeah, start it. You
well,
might
I'm
just
not
like
saying,
it. Oh, you're not saying that?
I'm not saying you
it's
gotta
probably
watch
good
it.
You haven't seen it.
It's probably good that these stories, then you're like, oh, what are they talking about? I mean, that's
it's
good.
It's all new to me, yeah.
We did that on Smallville.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Martian Manhunter was. I didn't know who
a lot
these
of
people were.
People were educating me. They're like, this is so-and-so. I didn't know what the fuck was going on in general.
It's better when you don't know.
It's better when you don't know things. You're going to learn about it when you watch the show. Shout out to your friend, Amanda's friend.
Oh, yeah.
Dave
Lewis.
Dave Lewis, big shout out to you. Tom, say hello to Dave Lewis.
Hey, Dave. Dave's watched the
I know you're listening
6 or 7 times.
I know you're listening. I just want to give a shout out to Dave Lewis. I thought it'd be funny. It's just an inside. Anyway, dude, thank you for allowing me to be inside of you. I loved it. I mean, it's so easy just to talk to you.
The only difference between this and like any other time is we're just recording it.
We're just recording
This is what we do anyway.
And we don't swear as much.
That's fucking true.
Jeez. F-bomb galore. I love you, dude. This is awesome.
And you haven't farted once.
If I had to, I would have. Nope, nothing there. Thanks, guys. We never know what we're going to talk about when we start talking, and we talk, and hopefully people give a shit. That's what you hope. You hope that people continue to tune in. A lot of times we have new guests, but sometimes we have guests that, I just like having on, like Kristen Krug's coming back, Brandon Routh, Tom Welling, Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki, Stephen Amell. There's certain people, Zach Levi, that I have on more than once, that I even like to have on once a year. Who's your favorite, you think, this year, right?
Recurring or just favorite?
I think in general.
Oh boy.
I remember you liked Billy Magnuson, I think.
I did like Billy Magnuson.
I think you also liked Nick Frost.
I like Nick Frost. Ozzy Tesfaye was a good one.
Ozzy Tesfaye was a really good one.
Jesus, Ernie Hudson was this year.
Ernie Hudson was really good,
Can
wasn't
you
he?
believe that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems like an eternity ago.
I know.
Oh, Ernie. Thank
Ernie.
you for coming on. Thank you to all my guests for coming on. And thank you again for listening to this podcast. There's so many choices you have. And the fact that you choose mine, the fact that my patrons are giving to the podcast and keeping it going is remarkable. So thank you, Cumulus. Thank you, Ryan, my man right here.
Giving a thumbs up.
Thumbs up, baby. Thumbs up. Thank you, Bryce, my producer. Thank you, Jason. Jason, my man, my main man. Thank you, man, for editing the shows. And again, have a happy holidays. Want to give a shout out to some organizations. Foodonfoot.org, helping the homelessness. If you want to donate, foodonfoot.org. I'm sorry, foodonfoot.org for the homelessness that's going on in Los Angeles. We have Echoes of Hope for foster youth. Foster youth is, I've got to take care of them. Echoesofhope.org, and also the Ronald McDonald House. And also, if you want to go to the Inside of You online store, there's a lot of great stuff there. Use Rosie Christmas 10, ROSEY Christmas 10 for 10% off. And have yourselves a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. Before I end the show, we're going to do the top tier, of course. But another shout out to those patrons. If you want to join Patreon, it's Patreon, patreon.com/inside of you. And there's tiers, and there's I give gift baskets. It's just a bunch of shit. So check it out. It's become a great family, and I love those guys. And let's just go right at it. Top tiers. Here they are. Thank you so much for contributing this year and every year. Some of you have been around since the beginning and supporting this podcast, which is unbelievable, Ryan. Wow. It is amazing that people stick around, because there's so much, the attention span. Thank God the majority of my audience is not 18 to 25, because they just fucking split. Attention span of fruit flies.
Well, you're just not playing Minecraft at the same time. That's your problem.
Yeah, exactly. If this podcast was 30 seconds long, they might listen, but that's not what people do. But you guys do. You listen, and you hopefully get something from it. Here we go. Nancy D, Leah S, Sarah V, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Jill E, Brian H, Nico P, Jerry W, Robert B, Jason W, Kristen K, Amelia O, Allison L, Raj C, Joshua D, Emily S, CJP, Samantha M, Jennifer N, Stacy L, Jen S, Jamal F, Janelle B, Kimberly E, Mike E, Eldon Supremo, 99 more, Ramira, Santiago M, Chad W, Leanne P, Janine R, Maya P, Maddie S, Belinda N, Chris H, Dave H, Spider-Man,
Chase,
Sheila G, Brad D, Ray H, Tabitha T, Mr. M, hi Mr. M, Liliana A, Michelle K, Michelle S, Michael S, something in my eye here, Talia M, Betsy D, Laura L, Chad L, Rochelle, Nathan E, Marion, Meg K, Janelle P, Trav L, Dan N, Big Stevie
W,
Angel M, Rhiannon C, Corey K, Super
Sam,
Coleman G, Dev,
Nexon,
Michelle A, Liz I, Jeremy C, Andy T, Cody R, Sebastian K, Gavinator, David C, John B, Brandy D, Yavor, Camille S, the C, Joey M, Willie F, Christina E, Adelaide N, Omar I, Lena L, Lena N, Eugene and Lee, Eugene and Leah. Would you say Leah? Leah? I always fuck that up.
Yeah, that's Aaliyah.
That's Aaliyah. Eugene and Leah. Yeah. Hi, Eugene and Leah. I know you guys. I just messed up Leah's name. Chris P, Nikki G, Corey, Patricia, Heather L, and Jake B. You guys really help the podcast in so many ways. All my patrons help, and I really appreciate you. So thank you for listening to the show all year. Thank you for making this show a priority. Ryan, I hope you've enjoyed it.
I have. Sorry, I bumped the mic.
You all right there, bud?
I'm good.
Yeah, Ryan's good. Ryan's good. Are you doing anything for the holidays? You're going away.
Going away. Going to Hawaii.
That's right. Going to Hawaii for a wedding and sing some Amanda's Family.
Yep.
That'll be great. Well, have a great time, man. Be safe.
I will come back a
new man?
and a different person.
You'll come back a different person. Hopefully you'll come back. Thank you all for allowing me to get inside of you this year. And we got another great podcast coming up next week, so don't miss out. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And from myself, Michael Rosenbaum, here in the Hollywood Hills of California.
The Hollywood Hills, I'm Ryan Tails.
A little wave up there to the camera. And be good to yourselves, all right? Be good to yourselves, and we'll see you